Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Aoun, and I'm the president of Northeastern University. I would like to welcome you all to our university. I would like to thank the senator for organizing the field hearing here at the university. We are grateful to him for his leadership on this subject. And as you know, we have announced that Northeastern will work with the federal government and on direct lending. And clearly, Senator, it was your leadership in this domain and your inspiration and your values that led us to make this decision this weekend. So once again, we welcome you all, and thank you, Senator, for being here. I would like to thank also and welcome the Undersecretary of State Undersecretary of Education, Martinez. Maybe you have both thank you.
Mr. President, thank you, President Aoun, so much for your welcoming us here at Northeastern. This is really typical of Northeastern. I was mentioning earlier, wasn't long ago, that actually NECN did a very extensive tribute to many of those who had fallen in Iraq. They had chosen different servicemen and women that had served nobly and bravely and courageously, and did a film about their past, their history, their family's history, and their history of service for the country, and then invited the family members of those who were lost. We had a very meaningful gathering here, and it was typical of Northeastern. And I mentioned to the President that on so many other occasions of a long life of experience in education, Northeastern has continue to thrive and to be one of our great educational resources in not only Massachusetts but nationwide. It has an extremely interesting and challenging approach in education, and its sons and daughters go out to so many different opportunities in Massachusetts and throughout New England, and it opens its doors to so many others that would not have the opportunity for education in the areas that they offer at different degrees. So I'm very, very grateful to have a chance of being back here at Northeastern. And I welcome the chance to have this forum here, meeting of our Education Committee. I've been in the Education Committee since I've been in the United States Senate. I think all of us in Massachusetts understand the importance of education. We're mindful that education has a special place in the life of the people of our state. President Kennedy, in the 1960 campaign, had a very important impact in terms of higher education. The difference in the 1960 campaign was, on the one hand, President Kennedy offering as part of the program that he offered for the country, and that is that every individual in Massachusetts, across the country, that was able to gain entrance into a college and university on the basis of their ability, they should not be denied because of the size of their wallet or their pocketbook. That we ought to be able to put together the combination of grants and some loans, although it was very limited at that time, 22 or 3% of the total funding were loans, the rest were grants. That's completely reversed these days. Put together so that any individual will be able to go, because of the value of having young, talented men and women that were going to be able to help lead this country, in whether it's in industry or national security or in the devotion to the institutions of our nation. And we have seen in the more recent time where we have moved back from that concept. We move back from that concept, and we find out that the young people, so many of them are tasked with the challenge of gaining help and assistance through a combination of loans, federal loans, private loans, to make up the difference. And we see the enormous pressure that's taken place with these families. And this cause is particularly meaningful in terms of Massachusetts, because we have seen over the period of recent years the gradual reduction, if we can believe it, in state support for higher education. 23% reduction. And that, I think, has been enormously troublesome. It should be for those families that are trying to provide help and assistance. We saw the explosion of fees that have been out there that have gone on, raised for students over here. So we have seen the increase in the cost. We've seen the decrease in the support here at the state level. We've seen the flattening in terms of the salaries and the income of hardworking people. We're not going to take the time to go through the other kind of pressures that are on families in terms of the mortgage payments, the fuel oil that has gone up as well, the mortgage payments, the health care costs that have taken place over this period, and the health care costs that have gone up as well. So families are being squeezed, and families are going through an enormous kind of challenge to be able to continue their support for their children, and young people are being squeezed. Young people are asking themselves, how much indebtedness can I afford? And we're going to hear from a student that is working 3 jobs in order to be able to stay in school. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the impact of this kind of endeavor in terms of the ability for these young people to be able to make progress academically? My visits to so many of the schools and campuses, you find out that the young people aren't talking about the books that they've read and in class, aren't talking about the teachers. They're talking about their job or their next job or where they're going to get another job. And this has an enormous impact, particularly when you understand that Massachusetts doesn't have the great natural resources that exist in other parts of the country. We have depended upon the minds, the initiatives, the creativity, the brilliance of the citizens of our state in order to be leaders in this country, in industry and in the security and the arts, and in the academic areas, the culture and other areas. So the education is, for all of us, a key force and factor in the lives. And at this time, the purpose of this hearing is a recognition that we have pressure on our education system in terms of the financing of it. Parents are wondering about what does this, when we read every day about the stock market, about the credit markets, about the housing markets, are in a state of a collapse, about actions that have been taken by Congress. Are they going to work? Aren't they going to work? What more is going to be done? And in the back of their minds, they're wondering, what about those student loans? Are they going to be out there? And I'm working hard. I'm trying to put my children through. I'm sacrificing to do it. And if I find out that some action, which I have no control over, is going to take place, which is going to severely undermine my whole ability to educate my children, it's not going to be something that I want to see happen. And we are expecting our leaders in the Congress, in the Senate, and in the presidency to do something about it. And we are here today to hear from some of those that have ideas and suggestions that can interpret what the current problem is, give us information on that, make recommendations about the things that we ought to be doing. But our committee, our education committee, is committed to ensuring that we are going to take the steps in the United States as necessary, that are going to be necessary in terms of protecting the families here in Massachusetts and in the rest of the country. So we're very appreciative of those that are joined with us here today.